there is a time to forgive, and there's a time to not forgive at first. Forgiveness is vital, yet when you're in the midst of the wound is not the time. It's not the time to forgive. It is the time to feel your feelings, because we cannot heal what we don't feel. And we're in these human bodies to be able to do that. So don't jump to forgiveness.
Greetings and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am excited to be here today. I have a wonderful guest, Brenda Reiss, here. And first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you,
Yes,
Charlene.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So for starters, I would love for you to tell us who you are.
Thank you. Well, my name is Brenda Reiss, and I am a forgiveness coach. And I have been doing this for almost a decade. And I love that your title of your podcast is When the Moment Chooses You, because as we'll talk about, that's what happened and got me into the forgiveness world. But I love everything transformation. I love guiding people from stress and trauma into some peace and freedom within themselves. And I do that. There's a couple books. I'm an author. I love to speak about it. And I also love to really spend time with grandbabies and fur babies. And so, there's a human part of me too.
Well, that is so wonderful. Well, I'm very excited to unpack your story here. So when I started this podcast, it kind of came out of a dream. I call it my heart project. And it kind of started in 2020 when we had the unfortunate incident with George Floyd being murdered. And so that really stirred me up. And I had never spoken up before, ever. And so that moment caused me to start speaking up. So I believe that there's moments that choose us to come into them. And I feel like I was chosen for that moment. So, I got through that moment. And then I start having the ideal of, I need to get other people's story to see what their moment was. And so, Brenda, I would love for you to share with us one or two moments in your life that you think that called you into them.
Oh, thank you. I love that. Because this is the one thing that I wasn't expecting was forgiveness. Now, I had lived a life where, there was a lot of forgiveness needed, and from trauma and abuse, going through divorces and trying to just find myself, right? Self-forgiveness being big. And it was in my third divorce that I found that my body was breaking down. And as a nurse, you'll understand that. So I was having ocular migraines. I was in adrenal fatigue. My hands were going numb. I was finally reached the pinnacle of what I thought was the job that I'd wanted. I was always a great assistant, right? Executive assistant to the vice president of a very large company. And so I thought I had found it. But he was treating me like my ex-husband had treated me. And I hadn't realized that, but I kept trying harder and I kept working harder and I knew I could figure out. I didn't realize all the beliefs that were wrapped up in it. Well, those beliefs, that inner world, was causing me and my body to break down to get my attention. And so this is what I learned later, right? Meanwhile, I'm going to the doctor going, just let's fix this. Just fix it. I got stuff to do. But it's like, yeah, we can help you physically, but there's something going on emotionally and mentally, right? I'm dying inside. It's not fitting anymore. And so I ended up with a neck fusion and a back fusion 6 weeks apart. And then I ended up with a brain tumor. So my body was trying to get my attention. And because I wasn't willing to peel my fingers off of this, what I thought was my identity and what I was supposed to do. And the fear around losing my job, losing my job because that was my finance, right? So sorry. So it was within this time that I kind of woke up to myself and said, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something. And so I just started asking the universe, going, okay, I can't do this by myself. And it was within that, kind of like we were talking a little earlier before recording, about how people kind of pop into your life then, right? When you ask, it's amazing at what happens when you're in alignment. And that's what I learned. I wasn't in alignment. Everything that I had done was important to where I was, but it wasn't the ultimate thing that I was here to do. Yeah. And so within that, that's when I found the forgiveness work. So I was tripsing along, kind of going, okay, meeting this person, helping to heal my body from the inside out. Doing all the things that the doctors were telling me, and then also going a holistic path, mixing up both and going, okay, finding myself and still feeling so not me inside myself, feeling lost and stuck. And that's when I found this. We decided, my husband now, we were dating at the time, decided to go to a place called Mount Shasta, which is in Northern California. And we were drawn there. And I got this little pamphlet that tells you all about it, right? What to do there. And in the back of it was this little picture of this woman. And have you ever seen a picture and you go, or a person, you go, I want to know them. I got to know them. That's what I did. And then when I read it, because it was small print, it said forgiveness coach. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I gotta know. And that's that moment when I met with her that I knew that, okay, I'm being taken on a different path.
Wow, what a powerful story. So, wow, Brenda, I don't even know where to start with this because you had so much richness in what you said. But I really love how I wrote it down here. Said that you were lost, but then you had to wake up to yourself. So tell us a little bit more about wake up to yourself. It sounds like you lost yourself within those traumatic events that you had just experienced.
Yes, it definitely felt like I lost myself. And it showed up. What it expressed as was codependency, was giving myself to so many people. My kids by then were raised; they were in their 20s, and so this was a new chapter of my life. And this particular relationship was supposed to be the pinnacle, right? It was supposed to. We're supposed to go on and have fun and do things, and I thought I was in the job that I wanted, that was filling my soul. But within this codependency, living for somebody else was draining me. And there comes a time, even if we think we're in these professions or in these careers or jobs or even businesses that we chose, there are what I call choice points. There's times where we get to, there's like that fork in the road. There's a time where that little nudge, because I really encourage people, go with that, like go with that little nudge, even if it scares you, even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, but start trusting it, because when you go this other way, it can be a little easier than the brick road you're hitting your head on
Yes.
here. Because I kept ignoring that little nudge. I can fix it. I can do it. Right? I can make it better. I can change myself. I can figure it out. And I didn't know that that was a belief inside me that said to me all the time, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. So therefore I have to keep proving myself to you and to the world that I am worthy. And I was dying inside.
That is so powerful. How many of us feel like we're not good enough? And so we grind and we press through and we keep doing the same old thing at the point of exhaustion and burnout. We witnessed that over I call it a double pandemic in addition to our personal
Yes.
pandemic. So, that is so rich what you're talking about, Brenda. Do you have another?
Well, I have also the moment where I didn't
Okay,
listen.
good. We need to hear this.
like, 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 and it's like, yeah, okay. first I'm going to preface it with, I believe that no path is the wrong path. Okay. It's just a longer and a little bumpier way to get to where we're supposed to be. I believe that we all have a design and a reason to be here, and that it's kind of like what's meant for us cannot go past us, really. My job is to open myself up to the signs and synchronicities and learn to trust myself. And for some people, a higher power, right? Something bigger than me, because that is so valuable. So, because we're not in it alone, and we're not supposed to be in it alone. We're not meant to do this by ourselves, but this, fantasy thinking mind will tell me that I'm alone. And so it was through almost so I mentioned third divorce, right? Well, each of those marriages, I got a very distinct don't do it within myself. It was like this, it was the feeling. If you've ever had that nudge of don't go there, don't go there. Some people hear it as a voice, some people feel it as a feeling, or they just know it. Trust that. Trust it, because every time, before I walked down that aisle, it was like, no.
You had
And
that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So you had that
yeah,
pause in your spirit before you even said, I do. So the
yes,
warnings were there.
the warnings were there. How many of us have done that? For anything, whether it's a
Yes.
job or, and what's behind that. And that's what I didn't know at the time. But through the forgiveness work, I discovered these beliefs and patterns, this inner world, this unconscious learning and experiences, the things that I'm supposed to overcome. That's what was in these experiences. So even if I would have said, no, I'm not doing it, I would have had another experience, but maybe it would have been a little easier, because it was in this last marriage that kind of all of these things came together. All of my fears and beliefs, patterns, all those things were right in front of me. And the reason why I say this is because I believe, and this is what I teach in the forgiveness work, that life is a mirror. Our relationships are a mirror. So wrapped up in that person or that job, right, is a way for us to look and see things that we've denied, repressed, and rejected about ourselves. Because my big caveat to forgiveness is that all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. And if we believe that, then the beauty is it's about me.
Yeah.
And I have control over that. I don't have no control over anybody
Exactly.
else.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. This is so rich. I am just savoring every word that you're saying. It's so profound, because I've been around people that I call it that your heart is imprisoned because you're trapped. Your heart is trapped to be able to love, to really love on the person
Yes.
beyond the challenges that they're seeing. And so this work is so important. So tell me a little bit more about your books. I'd love to hear about your books.
Yes. So when I started this work, I was realizing that there were pretty much three categories that people wanted forgiveness in: forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and how do I live a forgiving life? How do I because I believe that forgiveness is a lifestyle. Now, you can replace the word forgiveness if it's, because I want to be real sensitive to some people. Forgiveness is a heavy word. Forgiveness, when you have been majorly hurt, victimized, traumatized, it's like you're going, oh, frickin' no way am I gonna be. Don't be talking to me about forgiveness. And I hear you. And the thing that I encourage is willingness. Be willing to look at the situation, story, circumstance just a little differently. Because you said so eloquently, Charlene, about the heart, right? Being imprisoned so we can't love. The thing that we forget is that when we imprison ourselves, we can't get out. We think we're protecting ourselves from other people, but we are stopping ourselves from creativity, from being able to manifest, from being able to heal our bodies, right? All of that gets drained away. We forget that. And so it's not about the other person in the sense of we're not saying what they did was right. And I want, one of the things I like to do is make sure we embody that. It's not about what happened to you, but what happened for you. Yes, we've been victimized. We have some powerful stories. And when we can hold the space with people to go, and it's a yes, and what can we do with that? Like you had that calling, which I'm so grateful you did, Charlene. You had that calling to go, ooh, there's a space. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go for it. How many people in your audience have that same thing and they're afraid to go for it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
many, I
And
believe.
that,
I really do. And just hearing your message, even today, I know a lot of people are going to be inspired because, people are stuck, Brenda. They're
yes.
stuck. They feel like they're stuck. And so, what would
Mm-hmm.
you say to those people that feel like they're stuck? It can be in a relationship, in a
Mm-hmm.
job, in whatever life circumstance they find themselves in. What would you encourage them with today?
So I encourage this. I encourage a question because I love questions. I love questions. And that is, what if I'm not stuck? The thing about our brains is that they're wired, right, to protect us, as we all know, right? They're wired to protect us. They're wired for safety. And so when we smell something familiar, it's going to take us back there. And it's like, oh, no, cut it off. When we feel stuck, it's just a little bit of a misalignment. It's just that part of our brain that is trying to protect us. So this is what I encourage also. What if I'm not stuck? So this energy of curiosity is powerful because our brain doesn't know what to do with that. What do you mean? What if I'm not stuck? It has nothing to go on. So it kind of opens it up. So what it does is it does what I call a pattern interrupt because we're used to this pattern, right? The habits, all of that. Well, let's just put a little hook in there and go, no, wait, let's go this way. Then the other thing about being stuck is that this is going to take a little bit of self-reflection in the sense of, okay, what do I feel stuck about? I'm stuck in this relationship that doesn't feed me. I feel empty. They don't hear me. They don't listen to me. And that, or they're abusive, you know? And so we want to stop and the first, one of the first steps that I teach is awareness. And that is, I have to be aware of the thing that I want to change because I can't change what I don't know is there. So the awareness is like, okay, let me write down, what am I stuck about? What do I feel stuck? What is it? Now, this is the harder question that I truly desire. So what do I feel stuck about? What do I truly desire? That one takes some time and that one really takes some courage. And I'm just asking you to write it down. It doesn't have to act on it. Don't have to do anything, but, just get through this feeling. And so write it. What do I desire? Then we can take some steps because the next category that I teach is responsibility. I can't move if I don't take responsibility for my part. Because as long as we're blaming and putting our energy out, this way, out there, I can't do anything about them, but I can do everything about me. So if I'm willing to take my responsibility, like if you've been victimized, you're not taking responsibility for the act or the actions of others. You're taking responsibility for what can I do with what I've learned or this experience to move forward? How can I reframe? what I'm going through. And then that gives us choice. That's the third category.
Absolutely. Oh my God, this is golden. This is really golden. Let me ask you a question about barriers, because you shifted from corporate to where you are
Yeah.
now. So you had to have some
Yes.
barriers. I just would love for you to share any barriers that you faced.
Oh, yes, there were a lot. Um, so I learned, so when I left corporate, like I said, it was like peeling my fingers off because I had been there for 30 plus years. There's a different mindset with corporate and with entrepreneurship. I didn't know that. And I was not planning on being an entrepreneur. I liked my box
Uh
in
oh.
corporate. I liked the structure. I liked that because it was safe. What I felt. Now this is hindsight, right? This is what I found looking back. At the time, I felt like I was detoxing. It hurt. It takes you and it rewires, right, what you're thinking, what you're doing. You have nobody telling you be there 9 to 5 and this is what I want you to do. And ooh, you've got to manage all these people now, because that was part of my job, was to manage other executive assistants. And it's like, so here, this is what you do, this is what we want, here's the policy, here's this. As an entrepreneur moving into this phase, no one told me I get to be my own boss. That sounds great, but that's a lot of responsibility and self motivation and self discipline. So it was interesting because I was going through this feeling of just feeling like drained, and my body actually hurt. And I was like feeling confused, and I was like, where do I start? I don't even know. And I'm starting to take classes because that's what we do, corporate. We get a lot of meetings and we have a lot of classes. So, I'm like, let me do that. And it was one person that I met, and she's like telling me, she said, Brenda, it sounds like you're detoxing from corporate. She goes, I learned that about myself. It took me, Charlene, about a year and a half. The mindset, because the energy of whatever we do is in us. It's in our energy field. So we get to rewire, change, reframe. That, I like that word. And I use it quite a bit because we get to reframe how we show up. Entrepreneurship is one of the biggest personal development programs you will ever invest in, because you are the business. Corporate, you're a peg, right? In the process. So the barriers that I came up against was myself and my thinking. Lots of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I can't charge enough. What do I charge people? Because I don't know if they're going to pay it, and then also just the belief in myself, the belief in what I was teaching and doing, and that I don't need to be taking all these classes. I can actually stop and learn how to go inside, do my inner work so that I can start to trust myself. In corporate, we didn't have to necessarily trust our heart. It was our brain. It was our brain that we relied on. Entrepreneurship, you got to have the whole thing. Or any kind of heart project, like you call it, any kind of heart project, it's like trusting this. Did you
Oh
find
yeah,
that
yeah.
too?
It had to be
Able
a
to,
it had to be a inner acceptance of this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's I call it finding your why, because when I hit my point where I think a couple years ago I kind of hit another spot, and I found this quote, and the quote said, "You don't die when your heart stops beating. You die when your heartbeats have no meaning." And so I
oh,
know what I recognize is that I had start losing meaning in my heartbeats, and you only get so many. So my task was to do things that fulfilled my heartbeats so that I can have more fulfillment and more joy. And so that has been a game changer quote for me, because now I make choices based upon heartbeats. that are meaningful.
Oh, that just gave me chills. I love that. Can I borrow
Yeah,
that and use
absolutely.
that for
Yeah, it's
myself?
a I don't even it's an unknown quote that's out there on Google, but when I saw it, it like I'm telling you, you know how you get to those moments where you need to pause because there's so much going on. And it's like, you know what, I need to just take some time off to see what's going on, to find me, to reconnect with
Yeah.
my purpose because I feel like I'm losing out a little bit. And so when I did that and got quiet, that's where I was studying and just praying and meditating and doing all of that. And then all of a sudden, I get this quote and it pops up on my screen. And I just about fall out after I read it. And I was like, oh my God, this is what's happening. This is where the frustration, this is where the unrest is because I've allowed what I was doing to overshadow my heart and the heart projects
Yes.
that I want to do that give me joy and give me meaning. So, yeah, absolutely. Use it, bless other people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that just it I felt it
Oh, thank
when you said
you.
it.
Yeah, man, your
Yeah.
this session has been so profound. I cannot wait for this to air for our people to hear this because I think with me, I have to forgive myself for the missteps, the mistakes, the things that I did. But I notice that a lot of people don't like to own that part of themselves
Right.
because it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah, so this is
It
powerful.
is uncomfortable. Hmm. It is powerful. And I want to say, and I'm taking a different stance around forgiveness because forgiveness has been so important. But the more that I work with people, the more that I see, if you believe in the mirror, okay, what's going on in the world outside of us right now is a reflection of all of us, right? So there's a lot of unrest, there's a lot of chaos because we're feeling it. So if that's the case, if we choose to believe that, that means that each one of us can change the world by working on ourselves. That makes forgiveness vital, and I believe that when we forgive ourselves, we create a forgiving world.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, man. This has been so amazing. And I think I better ask you three wisdom gems that you can give our listening audience of your topic or what you feel in your heart that you want to inspire people with right now.
I love the three wisdom gems. I think that one of them that's really important that comes up a lot is that there is a time to forgive and there's a time to not forgive at first. Forgiveness is vital, yet when you're in the midst of the wound is not the time. It's not the time to forgive. It is the time to feel your feelings because we cannot heal what we don't feel. And we're in these human bodies to be able to do that. So don't jump to forgiveness but stop, feel the feelings. And really, the second one would be to learn to love on yourself. And that's a hard thing for most of us to do. But you can start simply by just catching those words and turning them around like, oh, you idiot, you did that again, right? We can be harsh and just like go, oh, no, no, and stop and go, oh, no, hey, girl, or hey, guy, or hey, you're awesome. You're amazing. Just reword that because we can change our brain. We can change our thoughts, right? And the last one would be don't do it alone. This journey, this human life, we're not meant to do it alone. We've learned that that's a safety mechanism we've learned to do. And so understand your patterns and your beliefs that feed that. And then invite someone into your world, just one person that you can trust and share a little bit with them. And then you can share a little bit more. And then your whole world opens up because when you're willing to be willing, the universe will come and meet you.
Powerful. Absolutely powerful. Well, Brenda, I would love for you to tell people how they can get in touch with you. I mean, any projects that you're doing right now that you want to tell the listening audience how they can get your wonderful book. I definitely want copies because they were really. I mean, I love this topic. This has been such a phenomenal podcast, this episode. So I just really thank you for being
Mhm.
here. So let us know how we can get in touch with you and use some of your services.
Yeah, so I recommend go to my website, Brenda Reiss, Reiss coaching.com. And in there, there's a quiz that you can take for finding your unique forgiveness archetype, which I absolutely love. And there you can see the books too, but you can find them on Amazon. And it's Forgive Yourself and then Journey to Your Heart Space. This other book is the one that is an 11-step gentle process to forgiveness. And it's accompanied by 11 mandalas. So those of us that are creative, that like to color, um, the mandala really helps us embed that, the feeling of whatever that step is. Like I am opening and I am willing, and it's a very gentle process. I would imagine, no, I will say that those people that are just starting a journey, that's a good way to start. And then, of course, on social media, I'm on Instagram, Brenda Reiss Coaching, and then Facebook, Brenda Reiss Coach. And I'm going to be having a forgiveness summit in the fall in October. It will air October 2nd through 11th, where it's about unlocking the true power of forgiveness, daily things daily that you can do to live a forgiving life.
Wow, that's wonderful. That is so exciting. I can't wait for that either. Man, you
Thank
have
you.
been
Thank
really
you.
a blessing on the program, and I hope that you come back to visit us again some
I
other
would love
time.
I would
Yeah,
love
because I
to.
have really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you, audience, for listening, and we will see you next episode.